We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest today on Tuesday is Tim Takacs, elder care attorney. We're talking elder law, that realm, 737-7587. A couple calls came in during the break.
Yes.
Let's take that before we get into more of our conversation. We'll go to Mike. Mike, good morning. Hi, Mike.
Good morning to you and the attorney.
Sure.
Good morning.
I was wondering why the citizens here in Tennessee allow these legislators to make up these laws that make it hard for people to have to go through these extra steps to qualify for Medicare supplements and or standard Medicare or even Medicaid. And do some of these people realize what's going on until they're actually faced with a circumstance where they're elderly, and then they realize, oh, I didn't know that this had happened? And is it just because we have a dumb electorate that just doesn't keep up on the facts of what's going through the House during legislative time, or we're apathetic thinking that it won't affect us until it actually does? And I think your parents are blessed not to be in Tennessee to retire, because I've already decided at my mid-50s, this is not a state that I think is going to be beneficiary to me as a single male, and retiring here, making sure I'm getting the best fundamental health care for my long-term retirement. And I'll hang up and listen and see if you guys agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I hear what he's saying. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, there's a lot in there.
Oh, I know. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize it till they need it sometimes, the hoops they have to jump through. I think he's right on target on that.
I mean, we, historically, we don't put as much into our public government benefits programs, perhaps in other states.
And that's a question really for the politicians to answer, not you as to why. But I think that was a way to try to manage the money better and help other people in different ways.
The changes that we've seen in TennCare have been really a mixed bag, because on the one hand they've moved more money into assisted living, but they made it more difficult to qualify because they've created the medical criteria, which is probably, I'm going to guess if it's not the most strict in the country, it's pretty darn close.
Okay. It's
the
funny.
Medical criteria.
Tim, look, I cover these stories and I do this, and I was not aware of that, that the medical criteria was that stringent. I did not know that, and I'm dealing it with my folks in another state, but I didn't know that, and I venture to guess the vast majority of the people out there don't realize that either.
And see, here's the way it works is that the TennCare, in order to qualify, TennCare equals Medicaid, equals long-term care payment in the nursing home. So it's like, okay, we're going to move more money so you can get money in the assisted living. Great. But you still have to meet the same medical criteria, which is odd, but nonetheless, it's the way it works. And it's on a point system, which means that if you score 9 points out of 26 points, then you qualify for TennCare, for choices. And you're thinking, well, how hard can it be, to get a score of 9 on a 26-point scale, right? And I've always wondered, it's like, well, if I was in the General Assembly and I was hearing from TennCare and they're saying, well, all you have to do is get a 9 out of 26. If you're in the General Assembly, you're going, well, that can't be hard to do. Well, it is.
It is. Okay. So what do you do?
Well, and then, exactly, and then so basically, these are things that have to be approved by the federal government, because that's most of the money comes from the federal government. So we are operating under a Medicaid waiver, which means that the federal government allows the state of Tennessee to waive the regular rules and have its own rules.
That's okay. But it has to be approved by the federal government, which it was.
And so several years ago, the state said, well, we've got this medical criteria because we think that everybody, there are people that don't need nursing home care, that they could get care somewhere else, like in assisted living.
Right. Which, again, assisted living is a tier down, right?
It's
more independent.
Right. And so we're going to put this medical criteria in, and you got to get a 9 out of 26, and you're going, well, how hard can that be? Well, if you don't count bathing and dressing as part of the medical criteria, because
I'm trying to think what else.
See, our thing on that is you could be naked and dirty and running down the street, and you don't get any points.
Isn't that interesting?
You don't get any points.
No points, because those things are excluded.
Right. All right. But those are the first ones to go.
Do you help people in your practice apply for these?
Oh, absolutely.
So how do you find ways around that? When you're running into a pickle and you realize that's how, what do you find for them that can help them qualify?
Well, what we do is make sure that people, that we make sure that it's adequately documented. Okay. All right. The person's medical record. If you're in let's say if you're living in the community and you're trying to get community Medicaid, basically help at home. 30 to 32 hours a week, say, because you can get that too, which is great. That's another thing that was never really in existence. So how do you get 32 hours a week? Well, you still have to meet the medical criteria. Well, and so what happens is somebody from TennCare or somebody from the government goes out to do an assessment, to like visit your mom. Like, so she's at home. And we always tell our families, we say, remember is that person they're trying to help you, but it's not like bragging on your kid.
No.
Tell. You
want to tell them the bad things.
Tell them the bad things. This is what mom's worst days are.
So what are the bad things other than bathing and dressing? What are the bad things?
She is not ambulatory. She can't get up and walk. That's one of the things.
That would
Yeah. She can't toilet herself. She's incontinent. She is
needs help eating.
Needs help eating. Now, eating means if you put it on the plate and she can get it from a spoon. To here, no points. No points. It doesn't matter whether can she go to the cupboard and pull food out? Can she go to the refrigerator and pull food out? No points for that if she can't do that.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
What the heck? Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So as long as if you put a plate of food in front of you, mom, and she goes, no points.
No points.
But if she just looks at it, and doesn't know what it is, she gets points.
And so is it based on mental capacity as well as physical capabilities?
Right. So if a person is combative, belligerent, they have delusions, they have things like that, they get points for that. If they're non-communicative, if they can't follow directions or whatever, those sorts of things, points are given for that.
Wow.
But you see how that you would think, you mean mom can't go to she can't go to the refrigerator and pull out her own food. You don't get points for that.
Yeah, they just made it very tight. Do you deal with sometimes veterans who are seeking to get benefits from the military, and maybe some? Now, I think I told you about my brother-in-law. He qualified because all these years later, they discovered the boat he was on. I think it was the McGoggin or something like
Sometimes,
this.
were they in blue water or brown water or something like that?
All I know is they were hauling a ton of Agent Orange, and it was bad. And yet for years he suffered from it. He had to retire in his 40s. They didn't know what it was. Only just now in his 70s have they discovered, and his wife, they're going to get some back pay, but it's tough. They're jumping through hoops. But Agent Orange caused all kinds of problems.
They call those presumptive conditions.
Okay.
Essentially what that means is that, and Social Security Social Security disability has many of the same things.
I wish you could have been getting these benefits sooner.
Which is, exactly, but a lot of it is, one is like medical science. One of it is, you're just old and you're sick, and so, what happened to you 30 or 35 years ago in Vietnam doesn't matter. Well, fortunately we've gotten a little bit more
Have you dealt with any Agent Orange clients? Folks
no, not that I can recall.
That suffered deficits from that. But
we're going to start seeing that We know we're going to start seeing that population because now the Vietnam veterans are in their 70s.
So when they come in,
we screen for that. Yes, that's that's one of the things that Chris has that's where his area of real expertise is. Chris Johnson, our associate attorney.
Yeah, he was a real shot, former Marine.
Yes, former Marine,
Yeah, and he will screen for that to look and see. And is that asking questions, going through their military record to see? But we didn't know. My brother-in-law didn't know, and then they finally went and found out what boat he was on. They went on to some obscure page in the military, and it was listed under the Agent Orange exposed boats. There's his boat. Otherwise. My wife just figured that out. No one was telling her this.
Yeah, they
don't.
You
had to go digging.
Yeah, you do. And unfortunately, the VA is a really very good health system, but like any other organization, it's big. Exactly.
So much.
And there's, when you think about it is that how many veterans are there? We are turning out veterans every day.
I know. And a lot of them need help.
I mean, every day. I mean, there are people now. We are in wartime, right?
Oh yeah. Well, right now, yeah. There's veterans coming back. There's others being called into service. They come back and they're. Now, it's not to say that every veteran is going to suffer some kind of deficit and need help.
Not.
Now, there will be veterans benefits for them regardless in certain things, right?
Right.
Not all of them are exposed to Agent Orange.
Right. You know, another thing that we found, another thing that we see, we're starting to see now, and we have one client what happened to is that he was in a he was in the military. Okay. He was not a veteran because he missed the wartime, but he was in a camp, I think, in North Carolina. You know, and there were problems with. You know, like the sewage system or whatever. Yeah. There's some sort of groundwater or something there. Yeah. You know, and he got benefits from that because we were able to relate his illness that he had, you know, with what they discovered about that camp.
Were exposed to in that camp. Same thing as the boat.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's the way you have to go digging. So you guys were able to make that connection.
We made that connection, and so basically he gets like maybe $1,000 a month. But he gets his medications free.
Yeah, that's a big deal. What you're able to get there. That is a big deal for him. Yes. And that's something he didn't know initially.
Not know. Right. You know, and until you know, that's why we always say is that. You know, if you know somebody that was in the service, you know, don't assume okay, I'm sorry, Daddy didn't serve during wartime. It's like, well, but was he in the service?
Right.
You know, where was he? Was he in a camp?
Yep.
You know, what sort of exposures might he have had?
Yep.
I mean, they were doing all sorts of stuff.
Oh, see, that's the thing. And I've looked into that with my father, as you know, and he didn't serve during wartime, and it turned out he didn't appear to be exposed, and so there wasn't a benefit there for him.
Right.
But there was for my uncle, and I don't think he was, or not my uncle, my brother-in-law. Yeah. He was not, I'm not sure, right in the middle of wartime, being on that boat with Agent Orange. I think they were using it in the drinking water. Good Lord, I don't know what they were doing. It's crazy the exposure he had to that, and they didn't know until just now.
Right. You know, and your thinking is, they're shooting that stuff all over the jungle.
They were using it as a cleanser too, to clean the boat too. I know that. Maybe not drinking, but cleaning the boat. Anyway, all right, we'll take a break on that. We got calls coming in along those lines, and I still haven't gotten to the gadgets.
Okay, we'll get.
Are you going to talk about the gadgets?
We will talk about the gadgets.
We'll be back with your phone calls and more, including some pretty cool gadgets that can help folks as they age. We'll be right back after this.